Let's go straight into the big story of today about the impartiality in the civil service.
And this comes after Partygate investigator Sue Gray was offered a job as Sir Keir Starmer's chief of staff. So is there a problem of bias within the civil service? Let's get an opinion of one former civil servant, Jill Rutter. Thank you, Jill, for coming on the show today. So what do you make of the decision by Sue Gray to go from a senior civil servant to the chief of staff for Keir Starmer?
It's quite interesting. I mean, there are quite a few civil servants who change and go into politics. I mean, you'll know some. Only this week I was reading the debates on the retained EU law bill. The lead minister in the Lords was someone I worked with in Number 10 as a civil servant, someone called Lucy Neville-Rolfe, now the Baroness Neville-Rolfe. So we've seen people go both ways into conservative politics, David Frost most famously recently, but other people the other way. And lots of people are mentioning Jonathan Powell, who went to do same job for Tony Blair. So why is this Sue Gray move sort of raising perhaps sort of, concerns that those moves didn't? I think first, she's probably the only civil servant in the country anyone really has heard of because of her prominence last year over the Partygate report. She's very senior. So most of those other people left at much lower levels. And one of the things we always complain about how siloed the civil service is. One of the benefits, if you like, of siloisation is you don't know that much about what else is going on if you leave from a much lower down job. But Sue Gray's been at the centre of things. She'll have been at the Wednesday morning meeting of permanent secretaries. So know lots about what's going on in government. So it's the seniority, it's the profile. And, it's the idea she's going sort of, I think this is the question, is she going straight in there? So there's sort of those sorts of worries. The real worry, I think, from a civil service point of view, and quite a lot of civil servants have been expressing their concerns off the record to journalists, is not that this, meant that Sue Gray was trying to stitch up Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. I don't think anyone internally would think that at all. The real concern is a lot of ministers already have quite a prejudice against the civil service. They think there are sort of bunch of closet Blairites and things like that. And I think the real worry there is this move will reinforce the impression for those people who want to believe that already.
But it's not an impression in this instance, is it? It's not an impression. What this does is actually confirm their beliefs.
It confirms...
and this is the case because she's moved to the Chief of Staff, and you're quite right, there she was, proprietaries and ethics, seen as the enforcer, right at the very top, and moved immediately. So it's not an impression. This now is what people have worried about, that the civil service is biased, and a lot of civil servants I know said, she's let us down.
I think she's let you down. I think she's let quite a lot of civil servants down because of the impression. So civil servants all have their views. Yeah.
Yes,
you don't
everybody
know what
does.
Everybody has their views, and and at the senior levels, I mean, one of the things civil servants like, they're very interested in politics. Actually, civil servants are, in that sort of small sense, quite political. And very good civil servants. One of the big challenges of the civil service is I can work for, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, Theresa May, they're all actually come with quite different views as well. So, and you manage to work through all of those and build a very successful relationship. I think it's a sort of, I don't think Sue Gray will have brought those views to her job. I mean, in the past year, she's worked very closely with Michael Gove at the Levelling Up Department. That's actually the job she's doing, the Propriety and Ethics job she did some time ago. She's worked with a Sinn Féin Minister of Finance in Northern Ireland. That was the job she's done for quite some time. So she's done a whole variety of jobs with different ministers. And I think Michael Gove valued her very highly. We've just seen a sort of thing in the paper saying, perhaps one of the things that prompted her move was that Kemi Badenoch had asked for her to go and be her permanent secretary at the Department of Business and Trade.
Well, the thing is, though, is that it's not. It seems to me that the civil service is a bit like the BBC. It's getting more and more biased, but masquerades as being impartial. And I don't think it's just a few Conservative ministers who think that. I think that's a view that's becoming more and more widespread. And does this not just reinforce people's view that the civil service is made up of a bunch of sort of metropolitan lefties who are determined often to try and block the Conservative government from doing things, such as at the Home Office, where we've seen, in effect, or what to the public's mind, civil servants trying to block the government doing something about all the illegal immigrants coming over the channel. So it doesn't let's just reinforce that impression that lots of people have already got from lots of things that they see.
That's why I said Sue Gray's let them down.
But if she's let them down, that would be referring to her. She's a one-off. The point I'm making is that she's just let the cat out of the bag rather than letting anybody down. She's let the cat out of the bag of what the civil servants is now really like.
I don't think the civil service is really like that. I think you have people who have, try and do their best for the government of the day. There may be, as I said, some people may bring their biases to work. I think most people know professionally you don't do that. If you look, there are lots of civil servants who worked, take David Frost on negotiating the Brexit deal. One of the big accusations against the civil service.
Can I go back to Sue Gray? I'm not, we'll do another interview.
Esther, I just want to make this. I just want to make this point.
And I just want to know, Sue Gray, if she had have been head of proprietors, which she was, what would she have said to Sue Gray, who's wanting to be head of Keir Starmer? Would she have allowed that to happen? Because she was quite strict with other people not allowing to go into the Lords, wanting to get them removed from post. What would Sue Gray have said about her own move?
I think that's a really, really great question. What conditions would she lay down? Because what you get is the conditions. So I think the things you would be asking is how long a period before you can take up that job? And we know this has to go to the Advisory Committee on Business Appointments. They can ask for up to 2 years. 2 years would basically wreck this move because that would put it after an election. So it would make it utterly pointless. So would Sue Gray advise that, 6 months, a year? I don't know. We'll have to see. So I think that would be the first thing. The second thing that I think a Sue Gray would insist on is, OK, how are you going to put sufficient Chinese walls so future ministers can be absolutely assured that none of the things you got to know about while you were doing those jobs that you've done, as I said, possibly sensitive stuff about the Constitution, maybe more important if she'd gone to the SNP than to Labour, things about propriety and ethics. What walls are you going to put up that future ministers can be reassured that they can share their confidence with someone in that sort of position? And I think you've hit it absolutely on the head, Esther. Sue Gray is the past master at laying down those sort of conditions. What would she have insisted on for that sort of move?
Jill, thank you for being so honest and for coming in today. Thank you very much indeed.
I just wonder if it's making the case for the US style of politics. If civil servants can go seamlessly into politics, then why can't politicians become the civil service? And I think this may start laying the pathwork.
It could. And we're going to have to get Jill back on because I think that will be a different debate about how it moves on. But thank you.